Welcome to another episode of TaskHuman Talks. I'm your host and fellow TaskHuman provider, Jamie Carroll, and today we have one of our amazing wellness professionals, Reita Johnston. And Rita is a certified life coach, trauma informed wellness practitioner, and founder of Powerhouse Coaching. Welcome.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm so
Joining
excited
me.
to be on.
I'm excited to have you on here. So, I was checking out your website, and one of the things you had mentioned was that you were on a mission to find happiness. Did
Yeah.
you find it? And tell us about this journey. I wanted to dive right in with that one.
Okay, so first up, you had sent me this question, and I thought, oh, Jamie is good. She was really in on the website. I love it. To answer your question, I did find happiness, although, surprise, surprise, it didn't look like what I thought. At the time, I was really depressed. I was in a job where it was a field that I loved, but I no longer felt that sense of fulfillment. I was stressed. I had coworkers that I didn't really enjoy working with, and just there was all this craziness going on. I had toxic relationships in my personal life. So it was just all of these things going on that were layered. I was chasing the classic American dream, in quotes, that we get spoon-fed and indoctrinated with. And, in hindsight, I realize I'm operating under this: when I achieve this, I will feel this. And that's not really what was happening. I was achieving these things that I had set out to do, and I was miserable. So my journey to find happiness actually turned into really tuning in and looking at the life that I was living and realizing this isn't what I want. This isn't my life. I'm living my life for other people. I'm living my life to check these check boxes. And so happiness, I realized it's a feeling that I was looking for. And along this journey, I started to understand and recognize and tune into this happiness that I was chasing is really a feeling of, do I want to do this? Is this something that I'm doing for me? Am I saying yes because I really want to say yes, or do I feel obligated? So it was that sort of stuff. How is this making me feel when I walk in the room? What's the energy? Do I like it? What can I
Right.
bring?
Right. I love that you say that because this, so many people are out there trying to find happiness through external things, right? And I love how you mentioned how we've been indoctrinated to just have these goals almost. Right. I was actually just sharing this in a PhD group that I was teaching. And it's like, right, we go to high school, then we're supposed to go to college, and then we're supposed to find this really amazing job where we're making lots of money and have great insurance and like all these things we have to, and then we're getting married, we're having a family, we're retiring. We want to make sure we're retiring at 50 or 60, right? Somewhere around there. And then we're probably buying a second summer home, all these things. And then people are trying to find happiness through that. And it sounds like that you had a similar kind of experience with that.
Yeah, and I see it all the time. It's like, why do I just walk through life with this low level of melancholy? And it's, let's look at the things that we're doing day in and day out. And are these even your beliefs anymore?
Right.
Like a lot of us do that. Absolutely.
So so obviously now you're no longer working at that job, right? How did you make the shift? How did you make the
Okay, so I'm really stubborn. And sometimes it takes me like 2, 3, 18 times for things to really, for me to like really pay attention. So
Yeah.
not by choice, Jamie, not by choice. I was hospitalized. I was ignoring all of the signs. All of the red flags were there. I saw them, I ignored them, and I continued to push through because it was scary. The unknown was scary. To walk away from something that my entire life, this is all I've ever wanted. I don't want to do anything else. That's really scary. So I ignored the signs and I
Mm.
ended up sick. The
Wow.
stress was literally killing me. I woke up one day in the worst pain ever,
Wow.
excruciating, and made the 2-hour drive to work, pulling over sick on the way. My work environment was so toxic. I could not just call in. My boss had to see me sick. So I drove to work, got the clear to go home, and I'm driving home and I heard a voice. I heard a voice say, take this exit. And it was, I didn't have time to think about it because had I even questioned a millisecond, I would have missed the exit. I took the exit, checked into the emergency room, and my organs were shutting
Wow.
down. My pancreas was enlarged 8 times the size it's supposed to be, gallbladder not functioning, kidneys shutting down, and I was hospitalized for a week. The doctor said, Mrs. Johnston, whatever you have going on in your life, if you don't change, you won't make it till the end of the year. And my daughter's second birthday was at the end of the year. And I just thought, I can't continue like this. I really need to take a step back. So that's why, because
Wow.
I was forced to, and I was only forced to because I ignored all of the signs.
Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
And so you went home from the hospital and quit your job
I
and
went home. Yeah, I went home. So I was
yeah.
hospitalized for a week, went home, rested at home for another week or two, went back to work, put my 2 weeks in. I did not have a job lined up. I had no idea what. I remember actually being on the phone in my office with my mom,
Hmm.
crying. And she said, you will figure it out. You always do. And I took the leap of faith. I was terrified. I worked overnight at Target, which was actually a really amazing job. I worked there for
Wow, I love this.
months while I figured out what is next. I had no idea. I had no idea.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't recommend just up and quit your job, but I also we really do need to pay attention to these signs. It could have been worse. And for
Yeah.
some clients that I work with, it actually does get to a lot worse situations than what I experienced.
Yeah. And so are you helping people who are kind of feeling that same way, right? They're like, I'm so burnt out, I'm stressed, trying to find happiness. We're never gonna achieve it that way, right? We're gonna push, push, push,
Yep.
right?
Because,
Until something like that happens.
yeah, that's what we're taught.
Wow.
That's what we're taught.
Yeah.
A lot of us were not taught to tune into these feelings of unhappiness or feeling disgruntled or just feeling like this isn't what I want to do. We sense them in our bodies
Hmm.
and then we sort of push them to the back burner. A lot of us were not taught to question some of the things that beliefs, religion, culture, societal things that we've been brought up in. We weren't taught to ask questions or that, our experience is even valid, that we're allowed to feel what we feel.
Yeah. So I'm sure a ton of people are resonating with this conversation right now, right? Just feeling burnt out. What's like a takeaway you could give us? What's something that we can do? Is it to start paying attention to those emotions when they're coming up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the biggest thing that I feel like I do with my clients is just giving them validation for who they are, for what they've experienced, for what they've gone through, for how they feel about what they've experienced. Just having that
Mhm.
validation, just acknowledging, you know what, I'm angry. And actually, if anyone else were in this situation, they would probably be angry too. Actually, I'm feeling really hurt and I'm allowed to feel that way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the find happiness and how you were doing it, all those other ways that just don't work out, how are you finding happiness now?
Continuing to tune in, to get to know myself,
Yeah.
to like, what do I like? What do I want to say yes to? Staying in community, staying in connection with other people that are on a similar journey as me, taking,
Yeah.
all of this, like the yoga, the rituals and routines, taking a time out, checking in with myself, making sure that I'm playing just as hard as I work. So there's all of these
Wow.
things, but I think the core really comes down to building a relationship with myself the way that I would build a
Hmm.
relationship with anyone else.
That's so powerful. Something we so miss so often in life. Yeah, building a relationship with yourself. So what's the biggest thing you're seeing in your coaching practice right now? Is it this burnout that people are getting to?
So much burnout, just from many of us were already burnt out to begin with.
Right. Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
when we add the layer of COVID, which we're all experiencing this collective trauma, both from COVID and also the racial and social unrest. There's a collective trauma going on. We're all grieving in ways that we may not even really recognize we're grieving. There's a sense of loss that we can't even go to the grocery store in ways that we are used to. And
Yeah.
whether or not that is a big deal or not, our bodies don't know that. Our bodies are still
Yeah.
processing, oh wait, I'm doing this differently. The fact that we can't interact with our friends and our family, there's a sense of loss in that. We carry that in our bodies, in our nervous system. And even if you are a person who maybe you don't believe in COVID, maybe you're not wearing a
Right.
mask, your body is still processing, doing things differently and moving and shifting through the world in a way that is completely different and we weren't prepared for it and we have not been doing. So we need to really honor that loss, that trauma that we are all collectively experiencing in different ways.
How do we deal with that trauma? When whether we're experiencing like deep-seated trauma from like a childhood or, abuse, whatever it is, or even now with this collective trauma, right? How, when we're feeling that anxiety or out of whack or whatever it is, however it's showing up, how do we deal with the trauma?
So many different ways. Just first, that even acknowledgement. Many people
Uh-huh.
are not even acknowledging. I just
Mm.
spoke with someone recently who, and I've heard this story over and over and over and over again. I can probably log into social media right now and see someone post this exact same thing of, I know what I'm supposed to do. I have my list. I just can't do it. I sit down and I just can't tune in. I'm just not focused. I don't know what it is. I wake up. I'm just like, and we're trying to put a label or we want to do and just acknowledge. There doesn't have to be a reason that you're up at night. You can just
Yeah.
be up at night, period. Or maybe you're up at night because you
Right.
really are experiencing all of this. So
Right.
acknowledging all of the things that we are feeling without
Mm.
needing to label them or to give a reason to them or to do something about them, just acknowledging it. Um,
Okay.
I'm also a somatic experiencing practitioner in training at the
Yes.
Trauma Institute. So
I want to
SC,
talk about that because I'm like,
yeah.
what is that?
So I'm going to mention it just to sort of answer your question about like what can we do. So SC is a form of body-based trauma therapy where it really works to relieve the activation or stuck survival energy that gets bound up in the body. So it's really about completing these self-protective motor responses that we do, and they can range. They can be something as simple as, playing with our hair, or they can be bigger things that we do to sort of self-soothe. So a part of somatic experiencing is working with the client on bringing awareness to these sensations that we feel, and oftentimes we'll label them. So for example, getting ready to chat with you, my past programming would have been like, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous to chat with Jamie, right? But really, it's, oh wow, I'm feeling tingling in my chest. So I had previously labeled it as nervous, but the actual sensation is tingling. And so separating, we call it uncoupling, where we separate what we've labeled it as with what we're feeling. So I can still feel the tingling or the butterflies or whatever, and I don't have to label it as I'm nervous, right? So what can we do to take care of ourselves is tuning into these feelings, these sensations going on in our bodies, and be aware, like, oh, I'm feeling anxiety, or what else could it be? You know, oh, I'm feeling, oh, I'm so stressed out and worried. I just turned on the news. Okay, you're worried. What else could that sensation be?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just had to note this. Are you seeing the way the sun
I
rays are
am.
like hitting in the I'm like, oh.
Beautiful. I love
Okay.
it.
So really being in, getting away from labeling is a big thing I'm hearing, which is so interesting too, because that, again, that's kind of like something we're conditioned to really do to have, right? Like even when we're sick, we go to the doctors, they can label us with something. You know, we always want to find out what it is that we have or the feeling, like what's our diagnosis, as opposed to actually being in it. We just want to like call it something, and then there's like that, there is a disconnect there, I
Yes.
feel.
Yeah, we do. And
Absolutely.
I can understand that labeling, and also sometimes that labeling can cause us to feel stuck. So if the label works for you, great. But if you're finding that, you know, especially because of everything going on, not feeling all that great about yourself or the day or how you're showing up, just like, what else could be out there?
Yeah. Okay, absolutely. So, um, tools, techniques, just breathing, or breathing. Breathing's always good. Tuning into our emotions. Is there anything else that we can do around the somatic, um, that somatic healing or
Yeah, so
spirit?
paying attention to the things that we do when we're feeling them. So I had mentioned, you
Okay.
know, the self-soothing. So
Okay.
if you catch yourself eating, you know, eating is a big one that a lot of us do in times of stress, tuning into what are you feeling just before you want to eat. And then
Okay.
is there something else that may give you a similar feeling that eating would? Or something that we often do as people, we rub our bodies in different ways. We might, you know, rub our leg, or sort of play with our hands or our hair. We do these things, right? We touch our face. So these are ways that
Right.
we're trying to soothe ourselves. And if we can bring awareness to the things that we do to make ourselves feel better, we can actually do those things on purpose instead of doing them blindly and not even knowing that we're doing it, and that in that moment we need that comfort, we need to be nurtured, but we're just so on autopilot.
Okay. Okay, so I have a question. I want to kind of let you be my coach for a second. So I have this weird thing where I like the feeling in between my fingers. So like I'll always play with my pens,
Uh-huh.
and like I get these, or like if a ring is on my finger, I'm like playing with it. And I used to, like, if I was wearing a shirt, I would like play with my shirt between like my fingers. And that's been since I was like a child. And now, like, I actually have like blisters that will develop in my fingers because I'm like playing with my pen so much. And I know that, like, maybe, so I know I do it, I'm aware of it, but I feel now that you're mentioning self soothing and how we do these things, I'm wondering if I developed this really, really young as a self soothing for whatever reason, that maybe I can,
Absolutely.
so I'll start creating more awareness around that in my life.
Absolutely. That's, yes, Yes, that's exactly what it is. And then often what
Okay.
I find is we have these ways to soothe ourselves, and we a lot of times have developed them as children, and the people around us shame us or guilt us for doing these things. So then now we have a level of shame or guilt for doing these things that we are programmed to do to make ourselves feel better.
Oh, that's so fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of COVID issues. There's been a lot of racial things going on. How has your experience been with that through these times? Like as a woman, as a Black woman, coach, I mean, how is that? How has this been for you this time?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. In a sense,
You have,
I am flooded with a lot of new clients, and I love it because so many people are dealing with
right.
this. I'm
Yeah.
talking to other coaches and therapists and wellness practitioners, and they are very full too. And I think just because there's this new level of awareness that we all
Yeah.
have.
Hmm.
It's so layered because there's a layer of education, right?
Right.
There's the layer of awareness. There's the layer of personal experience, and then there are people that are, this is not my experience and I don't understand, which then goes back to the education. So it's coming from the sense of understanding trauma and working with trauma.
Right.
It's hard, to answer your question, it's hard to see
Mm.
all of the systems that are perpetuating trauma. It's
Right.
really hard to, like, our children across the nation are going back into this virtual learning environment. It's really hard to sit back and see the parents be stressed out because now they have to
Yeah.
juggle work schedules and school and learning technology that they may not have done, and having to juggle all these things, to see the administrators and the teachers and the staff stressed out. They're still trying to figure it out. And then to watch the
Mhm.
children who are taking all of this in. Our children are just as stressed and traumatized as we are. And then
Yeah.
we have parents that are, I don't know how to support my children and how to support myself. So it's crazy and it's hard. And there's a lot of re traumatization through
Yeah.
systems and just so much.
And you have a daughter, you said, right?
I do, yes.
And how old is she now?
So she is 12. She actually just turned
Okay.
12 last week. She's 12.
Okay.
We had
You
already
were
been
having lots of
homeschooling.
conversations. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah.
actually our third year homeschooling. We were homeschooling before COVID, but even with that, even, I was working from home before COVID. I was using
Okay.
Zoom long before COVID. We
Yeah.
were homeschooling long before COVID. And even still, we have adjustments. The
Right.
resources that we used, they're not available to us. The things that
Yeah.
we normally do to take care of ourselves, we normally go get our hair done, right? We go to the salon,
Yeah.
we get massages, all of these resources that as a society we're used to leaning on in times of stress,
Mhm.
they're not available. So even
Right.
within our homeschooling community, we're still having to adjust. And, this isn't really that big in quotes of an adjustment for us, but even
Mhm.
we've lost access to some things too. And we have to adjust. And again, like, my daughter said to me a couple of months ago, gosh, I really miss getting to hug my friends. So
Mm,
there's just so many different layers to it.
absolutely. And one of the things I want to talk about too is you've got a Thrive 8 wellness program. And I think this is for companies, right? Large organizations that you're working with. Tell us more about this program.
Okay, it is for companies and organizations. So the initial thought behind it 3 years ago, I started thinking, I'm only one person. And
Yeah,
Jamie, as a coach, there's only so many people that you can see in a day before you are maxed out.
absolutely.
It gets exhausting.
Absolutely.
And so if we're working with people one-on-one, that also just it caps our income as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs. And so my train of thought was, well, how can I continue to do this work that I love? How can I reach more people? And how can I do it in a way where I'm not absolutely exhausted at the end of the day? So I sat with this for a year. I didn't have the answer. I just kept asking this question over and over and over. I would journal on it. I would sit in meditation on it. Um, I would talk to my guides and argue with them about it. Like, give me the answer. How can this, like, what does this look like? I just kept saying, what does this look like to work with people? And I didn't want to do some of the past group coaching that I had done. So I just, for a year, I just kept asking, what could this look like? Then one day, it was November, I was sitting in meditation and literally the Thrive 8 program came to me and I just started writing. And by the time I got done writing, I had about 8 pages and that was the outline for the program. So the train of thought, and I started to do a lot of research and really understanding when we are not feeling fulfilled in one area of our life, it tends to seep in other areas. We're not very good as humans as compartmentalizing things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if someone's finances are not doing that great, it's probably showing up in their relationships. It's probably showing up in the way that they take care of their physical health, the way that they're eating, you know, the way that they show up at work. And so
Right.
with this understanding of the compartmentalizing and the way it shows up, the thought was, well, if I can get into companies and organizations and they understand this, and they're willing to sort of foot the bill because they want their employees to take care of themselves. We want you to feel good about yourself. We want you to be happy. We want you to feel
Right.
fulfilled. We want you to love your life because you're going to come to work and it's going to show up. It'll show up in how you interact with our customers. It'll show up with how you interact with other employees, and it affects the company's bottom line. So that was sort of the thought process in how that program came to be. And so it's since expanded. It's not just about wellness. I also do a trauma-informed anti-racism diversity training one as well.
Oh,
So I have
wow.
2. So one, I go in and
Oh,
it's really focused on, it's in a group setting, but you walk away with a personalized plan. And so the way that I do it is you're with your coworkers, but you're keeping your personal stuff personal. We're not really airing it
yeah.
out at work. So you get to
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
in a group setting, but sort of keep things private, and you walk away with a personalized wellness plan to take care of yourself in all 8 areas of your life. And then for the anti-racism diversity one, it's really about looking at how you're showing up with that anti-racism lens. What are the ways that some of the policies and procedures and the way that you're operating your company, how are those affecting other people? And what can we do? And so both workshops are both from a trauma-informed perspective.
That's so important. I love that you're doing the anti-racism diversity um, course as well, because obviously that's been coming up a lot, right? That's like a big thing this year in 2020. And it's just, it's more of that collective trauma, you know? I
Mhm.
mean, people, are you talking to your children about this? You know what I mean? Like, there's so much going on around it that everyone just really needs this trauma informed approach right now. What, like you were saying, like whether we're aware of that or not, it's showing up somehow, whether we're believing in COVID or not, or like wearing a mask or not, it's showing up somehow. So, yeah, this is great. Is there anything else that you want to share with us before we wrap it up and do a little summary of everything we talked about?
Sure, I would love to sort of give a quick resource or tool that people can use to tune into to start to tune into their body. So if you're like,
Okay.
wow, I don't know what I do to self-soothe, or I'm not really sure what I do when I'm stressed out, something that we can do is create a container for ourselves. And the way that we can
Okay.
do that is just like touch ourselves, you know, especially now where we don't have that connection. Touch is
Yeah.
already missing from our society, and even now more
Right.
so. So if we're feeling stressed out, just like hug yourself. Just hug yourself and
Mhm.
take a few breaths and just create that container. If you find yourself feeling frustrated or you have some emotions that feel really big and powerful, remind yourself this is a container. You can hold those emotions. You can do it.
I love this.
So you can stick your hand under your armpit, and yeah, and just hold yourself.
Love
And so
this.
part of the reason that we do the arm is it's close to the heart,
Okay.
close to the heart,
Okay.
and then yeah, you got it, and that's it, and just sit there for a minute. So this is a really great way to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the brake. So if you feel
Hmm.
yourself start to get activated, you can sort of
Yeah.
deactivate your nervous system by just doing this.
I need this. I know so many of us do. I have been feeling all the things. This has been so informative and helpful. Thank you so much for sharing everything with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
So, yeah, if anyone is looking for, a trauma-informed approach, life coaching, you are just feeling bogged down with life, then definitely reach out to Rita Johnston um, through TaskHuman. If you work with an organization and you're interested in one of these Thrive 8 programs, so the anti-racism, and then what was the other one? The
Personal
anti-racism,
wellness, stress
personal
management.
wellness, stress management. Yes, also amazing. Um, I took so many notes, but paying attention to our emotions is so important. Just feeling them, feeling the emotions, giving ourselves a hug, creating that container. Um, Really, really beautiful. Thank you so much, Rita. It was so wonderful to chat with you today.
Oh, so good. Thank you for having me on, Jamie, and letting me get to sort of
Yeah,
geek out about some of these things that they're so fascinating. We're incredibly resilient as humans. It's
yeah,
mind blowing.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.